Welcome. Welcome to Pleasure Principles, Sacred G-Spot Secrets to Igniting Your Magic, Money, Sex, and Business. My name is Sophia Leva-Marie with NurturingDivineBeauty.com, and I am honored today to have Vanessa Cuccia of Chakrubs.com, one of my favorite crystal sex toy companies. Some of you may know it as the original crystal sex toy company, and an author. And she's honored us today by coming to play with us and see what we can co-create today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
I am too. Now, I love that you say that when you're getting involved in using the chakrubs, which are these crystal sex toys, that you're telling the universe that you're ready to explore what it means to be activated by your own sensual body. You're ready to delve into your humanness, your divinity, to heal wounds that may hold you back, and to discover what is unique about you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And, you know, in honoring that, obviously you must have a story to tell, because what we create and what we teach is what we experience or need to learn ourselves. So I would hear, what was your experience that brought you to create something magical for the world?
Definitely. It's so true. I always say that what we teach is what we need to learn ourselves. And that was absolutely true with my creation process for Chakrubs. I think that, you know, my whole life was leading up to this kind of aha moment that I had when I thought of using crystals as a material for sex toys. Little things like when I was younger, I had a condition where my vagina was actually closed. And so I had to be opened up night after night by my mother when I was very young and go to the doctor. So I had a lot of trauma there. And the symbolism of that was that I needed to remain open. Something inherent about me was closed off and I needed to learn how to remain open. So that was when I was very little. And then growing up, my first relationship, first long-term relationship that I had was with somebody 6 years my senior. And when we first had sex, I wasn't aware that I was about to lose my virginity, and it came as a surprise to me, and that kind of switched something in my mind, because I had always felt like the first time I had sex, I wanted it to be with somebody I was in love with. So in this kind of moment, you know, and it happened very quickly, and I had to kind of make a decision. And my decision was that instead of being mad at this person that I had been dating for 4 months, I was going to fall in love with him, so that I would have an inkling of what my idea was for when I lost my virginity. If I just fell in love with this person, then it would be okay. So I ended up dating him for 6 years. And in that 6 years, you know, it remained to be sexually abusive, in the sense that sex was never, the pleasure part of sex was never for me. It was for him. And I was subconsciously learning how to disassociate myself from my body during sex, doing things like moaning to trick myself or to trick him to think that I was enjoying it, when really these were sounds of discomfort. So for 6 years, I was going through this process of where I was kind of being used, you know, sexually, and just really confused myself, because I never processed what happened, you know, and just kind of shut down. So when I made this realization that I think I was in my early 20s, and I made this realization that, oh my God, I'm a quarter of my life done, or less, you know, or more than that. And I want to enjoy sex. It was for the rest of this couldn't, there was something that just woke up inside me, and I knew that I needed to change something. So I ended my relationship with him. I took a job at the Pleasure Chest, which is an adult shop where everybody's very sex positive, very knowledgeable. I wanted to put myself in an environment where I would be learning from these people and, learning about pleasure. And at that time, I also developed my spiritual beliefs. So I was I invited a young spiritual teacher to come live with me for a few months while he was traveling through California, and learned a lot about crystal healing and the chakra system, and developed a relationship with crystals. And then one night I went with him to this woman's house who has a large collection of crystals, and she brought one out that was a wand, and I realized that crystals could be polished and shaped. And what I needed to do was, for me to feel comfortable with exploring my sexuality, I knew that it wasn't just an orgasm that I needed. I knew that I needed to reconnect to myself, and crystals felt like a way to do that, because they would help me gain sensitivity, which is what I lost from desensitizing myself to sex from that other boyfriend.
I find it interesting that you said you wanted to kind of create love in order to feel this. And it sounds like through your experience, you didn't actually create that. You actually created some trauma for yourself.
Yeah.
Through that experience, you actually came to a place where you could open into that self-love.
Absolutely. It was definitely a mechanism that I used. And at the time, it was what I needed to cope with something that I didn't have the emotional intelligence at that time to deal with. But, and it is tricky, because as abusive as the relationship was, people are complicated. So there were definitely parts about the relationship that were good. But I had to grow up. I had to learn, and exactly like these experiences led me to understand that many people do that. Our perception is so strong. We can switch something in our minds and make ourselves believe something that's not true. And we could use that for good or for bad, so definitely was a lot of awakenings at that time that I went through to get to where I am.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And also you mentioned combining sexuality and spirituality. And I mean, that's what this whole telesummit is about, is actually it's a co-creative process, whereas so many disassociate it. They say, oh, your sexual energy, it's just about sex. They relegate it to just the bedroom, but it's actually used to create your life. So how would you say people can actually start to invite that for themselves, where they bring in their spirituality, whether they know it or not, whether they're at the beginning or more evolved, and how do they actually combine the two?
I think it's really important to acknowledge what spirituality is as a first step, because it's one of those words like love that can get lost in translation, because whatever we experience is unique to us, and so the words mean different things. So for me, what made sexuality part of my spiritual practice was the recognition that spirituality for me is the awareness that I existed before I was born, and I will exist before I die, when I give up this body. So for this moment right now, I am given this body, I am given these senses, and so having this human form is very sensual to me. So sexuality to me is more about the senses. It's about hearing things and letting it just take over you, that, for that pleasure, touching, having simple acknowledgement for the beauty and like soft touch and things like that. So when you acknowledge just being in this human form, whatever form it takes, that is a spiritual experience. And so then every sense that you experience can be brought to a deeper place of appreciation for your body and being in this form. So that was the understanding that brought me to connect these two things.
I love that. I mean, when I work with my clients, I say that there's 7 senses. You know, there's the 5 we know, then there's the spiritual aspect, and I also say receiving.
I love that.
And that's also often one, especially as women, that we're definitely really have to train ourselves, because we get trained by culture, by, you know, the people we have relationships with, just ancestral, you know, TV, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. Very true.
Yes. Now, using these crystal toys, and, you know, when I say toy, I almost don't want to say the word toy, because it really is something more sacred, because when you use crystal sex toy, you develop a relationship with it. I mean, I tell you, like, I wake up with it, you know, it's on my womb or it's on my back or that, and you actually create a relationship with it that's much different than using, like, say, a vibrator. So what would you say creates a more optimal experience for your sensuality and sexuality with the crystals than you could get from a regular sex toy?
Right. Well, it's definitely true what you say about calling it a toy. That's why the name Shock Rub was so important for me. And, you know, I get that it's going to be described as a dildo or a sex toy or a wand, but the term Shock Rub to me really encompasses what it is, and that it's a healing tool used with your sensual body. So because they're crystal, crystals emit a very healthy frequency, vibration. Everything is exchanging energy all the time. Every object that you're around gives off energy. And crystals give off a very healthy, healing energy, so that when you spend time with the crystal, your energy is actually becoming more like that of the crystal, because it's stronger. We as humans, depending on what we eat, how much sleep that we get, who we spoke to that day, our energy can, you know, be very sensitive. Crystals are a lot stronger in the energy that they give off. So because of that, when we spend time with the crystal, along with our intention, we're going to develop this sense of sensitivity to what it's giving off. So especially when we're using it in that intimate way, we're also sensing our sexual energy, which is really easy for people to recognize, right? You know when you're aroused, it's clear. And that is a really good bridge to understanding the crystal energy, because you're just recognizing what energy is at play when you're in that sexual zone. So yeah, it's just a really good introduction to recognizing that energy aspect of sex that some people aren't necessarily aware of.
Mm-hmm. But it actually goes even beyond sex, because it is about healing as well. You know, we talk about repressed emotions and finding that, how can you actually use the crystals, you know, like in vaginal de-armoring or things like that, how can you actually use it to heal if you've had any trauma or just any cellular sensations that are trapped in your body?
Right. So when we have certain blockages, crystals facilitate energy movement. So no matter what, they're going to shake things up. Sometimes and also different crystals have different metaphysical properties. So for example, an obsidian crystal is known to release repressed emotions. It removes negative implants that may be in your system from traumatic relationships. Because of that, some people see obsidian as a negative energy stone, and they're actually like scared of it. But the reason why it's considered that, or it's scary for some people, is because it's showing you things that are repressed. So that obsidian crystal is going to move things around and help you understand things that you haven't been willing to see before, and along with intention of saying, I want to release that which no longer serves me anymore, looking at these things, doing the work, part of the process is going to help release those things. Whereas something like rose quartz, which is associated with the heart center, which you got, yep. And today that's what I meditated with, was the rose quartz, and it's rose quartz vibrates at a frequency similar to love. And so when you meditate with that, you're keeping your heart open. So for people that have had bad breakups, or are grieving loss, or that have temperamental issues, that reminds you, and that heals the heart, which we all know what that pain can feel like in our heart. And having a crystal there soothes that ache. It gets that energy healed. And that has to do with our own chakra system, our energy. And then, I could get more into like the way that crystals work through, different things like that. But yeah, along with your intention and the energy of the crystal, that's how it helps. So with the sexual energy, of course, you're creating an even more vibrant energy going through your system. So it's going to shake things up and release those blockages. But even if you just sit with the crystal, again, that crystal is working with your energy system to release those blockages or to soothe certain areas that have had trauma.
And I know you're actually diving deep into that. You're actually writing a book soon to come out, Crystal Healing and Sacred Pleasure. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's really about the philosophies that I've developed since starting Chakrubs, and it goes through the chakra system sort of as a roadmap of self-development. So we start with the first chakra, which for those who might not be familiar, these are just points of energy in our system, and each one has different things that it's associated with. So we go through the 7 main ones and walk through different healing exercises using crystals as a support system. So it's very pleasurable. So these are pleasurable exercises, not overtly sexual necessarily, but they have to do with massage and touching yourself in a way that is loving and intentional. So right off the bat, it gets you that instant gratification of doing something very pleasurable for yourself. But then with the crystals themselves, that's getting to the root of the issue that you feel and doing long-term transformational work. So it's actually changing the energy of the root of the issue to expand through whatever you need to get through to actually change your situation. So you're getting that immediate, instant gratification, but then long-term results. Yeah.
We like extended results.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
And speaking of transformation and personal development, obviously people who listen to telesummits, that is what they're looking for. They're always looking to expand, to grow, and to become more of themselves. Yet they may not have thought of using their sexuality, their sensuality, or even implements to help with that self-development.
Right.
So if someone's new to this idea and they're just starting out, how would you suggest they actually start, something that can assist them into opening into more of themselves?
I think first it's important to give yourself permission to try something new, to maybe feel silly at first, and start slowly, but to to keep going. So these kinds of transformative exercises, especially if you're going to use something like a crystal, you get more sensitive over time. So sticking with it, keeping a journal, things like that, you're going to see how you change over time. But the initial just getting started, definitely the permission thing is major. For somebody that's going to feel weird because they never associated sex with self-development, that, you know, that might be really uncomfortable. They might feel really strange, but just to say, it's okay to feel strange. It's okay to feel a little uncomfortable. I'm still going to try it. And then to keep with it, you know, so that immediate, just give yourself permission, let it be what it's going to be. And to also tell yourself, it doesn't have to look like anything but you. So for things like using crystals and stuff like that, that was my major thing with starting Chakrubs, was I felt like a lot of the spiritual teachings out there, the branding sometimes to me felt super off. You know, it didn't speak to me how I saw a lot of these things being expressed. And that's just because I have different tastes. Everybody does. And spirituality doesn't mean that it has to look like the spirit of you know, you don't have to dress in like robes, and you don't have to, you know, like have gigantic Om symbols around your house to, like, you know, it has to look like you. And that doesn't make it any less spiritual or sacred. So just recognizing or realizing that whatever you feel comfortable with, to give yourself the permission to open up to this kind of healing, it's correct and that's right. And whatever you feel and experience is right. Those initial, you know, things are good to note at the beginning.
I love that. Permission is key, because if you listen to your family or the culture or the religion or just even what you see, it doesn't really give you permission.
Right.
You can give it to yourself and can, like, is this the path for me? And only you can know that.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe your partner, like, it may be completely separate than that, but only you can know, is this something that will help open me into who I need to be, if I need to heal something, or I just want to experience something.
Yeah, things like this and the spiritual aspect, sometimes I think a lot of people feel like they almost have to be initiated into this other world that's full of secrets and mystery. But you initiate yourself by just making that step into the awareness, and you being open, just telling yourself you're open to opening, is going to allow certain understandings come your way that is all from you. Anything that anybody knows is shared information in our collective consciousness, and we can pull from that at any time. It's just about being open. And yeah, I think especially if you're dealing with things like self-esteem issues or anything like that, it may be really hard to feel worthy of going on some path when you hear things like, oh, this person sees colors when they meditate, or they, you know, have these crazy experiences, but every time I close my eyes, I see nothing. But the thing is that you just have to realize that whatever you're feeling, that's right. And as long as you have those intentions, that's what you're supposed to be going through. And it gets better and better as you go.
Yes, and your experience is perfect until itself.
Mm-hmm.
I love what we talked about. Your mission was really about gently opening into this. Like, you know, our culture is about force, like making things happen.
Yeah.
Aggressive kind of more masculine energy, but, you know, this is really something where it's more tender.
Right.
So I really love that is part of your message, you know, the loving along with the development.
Right. The book too, that's what it really, that was what you said, my mission. And it is, I mean, half of the title is sacred pleasure. So it is sexuality based, but there's so much about how to have the best orgasm, how to, all these different things. And to me, that could be scary to somebody, or, to explore their body, especially if you've had sexual trauma. So just doing these gentle, loving exercises will build you up to feeling more and more and more. And that's what it's all about. Let things roll how they're meant to. The path will unfold little by little. And I like that so much better. Like when it just, little by little, and you give yourself time, and it's natural, and it's from a good place.
Yes. It reminds me of the picture I got was a flower, like the blossoming, like it just gently spreads, and then the full beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I've shown people my particular chakra, but obviously you have more than that. Some people may have no idea what this sex toy looks like. So to show us.
So I have mine. This is the, I call it the prism, and it's clear quartz. They're not all clear like this. Some of them are more milky, and depending on how, so the clear ones actually are said to have more of a masculine energy, and the milky ones have more feminine energy. So crystals, depending on how they're, on the color, on things like that, that also gives them different metaphysical properties. But clear quartz is considered a master healer stone. So anybody that is deeply into crystal healing will have a clear quartz. So this one is really good for the whole chakra system, and really good for clarity and things like that. So this is the original chakra shape, and then there's also a smaller one. Now we're getting into like curved shapes and things like that. And then this is a yoni egg. This is an amethyst yoni egg, and this is a ancient Chinese practice that dates back over 2,000 years ago, and it's just a really simple tool, but super effective. And this gets inserted, and then you can do various yoni egg exercises. Some come with a drilled hole that you can put a string through, and you could tug on the string while strengthening the vaginal muscles, and that increases blood flow, which leads to better orgasms at the end of the week, things like that. But it has so many uses. And then of course there's the benefit of it being crystal, so it's more of an emotional support as well. So those are the two main ones, main shapes.
Awesome. And I hear that you have some new things coming out as well.
Yes, lots of new things coming out. I have it's going to be called, the most recent line that I developed is called the Shadow line, and that's made mostly from black obsidian, and it's fetish inspired. So I have chapter 2 of the Shadow line coming out, which is going to be more items inspired by fetish. And then I also have a dilator set coming out. So it's going to be a set of 3. So we've had a lot of requests from people that are prescribed dilators from doctors who need it for different reasons. And when a doctor is prescribing you dilators, they're typically very medical looking and feeling things. They're made from plastic and they screw on, and these lightweight. More trauma. So a few people have used shock rubs for dilation, and one woman in particular said that her body actually wasn't accepting the traditional dilators, and when she tried shock rubs, she immediately took to them and has one now in every color. So we were like, okay, this this needs to be a thing. So I'm really excited about that. And then I also am developing the forest line, which I'm not going to go into too much, except for the fact that it's called the forest line, and I'm really excited about that.
Well, I think I want one of those. I don't know what it is, but I want it.
That's gonna be good. I also have candles coming out, and more. I have a rose quartz facial roller coming out that's going through a redesign. So lots of things to look forward to. So definitely keep in touch.
Yes, such fabulousness.
Yes.
And, as you're going on this journey, we've talked a lot about the healing, but as you're going further into this process and you're experiencing more pleasure, experiencing more opening, more expansion, then how can you actually use these tools, these sacred tools, to actually start to consciously create your life? Once you've gotten past what you require to release,
Mm-hmm.
move forward.
Yeah. So with the rose quartz, especially, so as an example, with rose quartz, say that you want to manifest more love into your life. A simple exercise with the rose quartz chakra is in your session with the chakra, when you're creating this pleasurable energy, actually thinking of or visualizing what that loving energy that you want to manifest into your life feels like. So saying things that you want a lover to say to you, and almost matching your energy, how it feels, how you imagine your potential lover feeling energetically with you. So as you're creating this, it's a sexual fantasy, but it goes one step further as how you want to feel, what you want to hear, and calling in those sensations to manifest that energy into your life. My mother went through a divorce 3 years ago, and after using the rose quartz chakra for 2 months, she found her boyfriend that she's been with for all this time, and she says that it was the chakra, because she felt like she needed to open up. And for me, the same thing happened with me when I was using the rose quartz chakra. I realized, which seems so obvious, I wanted to hear the words "I love you" while I was having sex, which seems so obvious, but I never recognized that before. So when you're creating this, you're going through this sexual energy, and it's intentional. So you're not watching porn at this time. It's for a specific purpose. You're going to recognize what you want. Let your imagination flow so that you could see what it is you want to manifest. So that's one exercise. But in general, when you start working with the chakra, because it's just like any other crystal, you can do cleansing rituals. So you're cleansing the energy of the stone, like laying it on a bed of uncooked brown rice overnight. You could charge the stone by putting it out in the moonlight to get that feminine energy instilled in it. Then you can meditate with it without doing any type of sexual thing first. So you rest it on your heart. You tune into the energy of the crystal through visualizing yourself being encompassed by the crystal, all these different kinds of meditations that you could do, writing down what your intention is. So say that your intention is to land a new job, something like that. If you write down this intention, then you've meditated with it. This, please, crystal, help me understand what I need to do to open up to this new job opportunity or whatever it is. Then when you're working with the crystal at the height of pleasure, you can reiterate that intention that you have. So you're literally sending your sexual energy and the energy of the crystal into the universe to get back to you what it is that you're calling in. And it raises your own vibration to match your intention. You're actually changing the energy that's at work. And yeah, that's, you know, a little bit of like sex magic, but with crystal energy.
I love that. That's actually how I found you. I was doing a meditation on the beach, and my future partner's energy came in, and I was just calling it in, and, you know, it turned into kind of more a sexual fantasy, as you said. And I said, what do I need to know? And I saw a picture of a rose quartz dildo. And I was like, okay, I have to go find that.
Nice.
And then I went Google, and there you are.
Amazing.
That's actually how I called in the stone, because I've, you know, used jade eggs for quite a while and other stones. But that's actually how I called in your stone in this connection with you. So I love
it. I love that so much. Yay.
What can I go now?
Yeah, it's funny because it's actually, for me, now it's become a really intense thing because I've gotten so sensitive to crystal energy. You know, when I first was starting, I was using my chakra daily, and now it's actually become so intense for me that it's actually more of a thing where I have to do it maybe just once a month and be super, super intentional and really recognize what I'm calling in. And I have different chakras for different things, you know, so I have like my medicine cabinet kind of, you know, it's not a sex toy drawer. It's a medicine cabinet, and I keep my chakras in like a glass case. And when I'm, you know, feeling either I need to call in creativity while I was working on the book, or, you know, I'm feeling, I had an argument with my boyfriend or whatever it is, it's like a different chakra for that. So that's also fun to play with too, depending on what your intention is, to match your crystal to that, you know, as a medicine is really fun.
I love that. The orgasmic prescription. So
yes. Yes. Exactly.
Better than normal.
Yes.
Well, I know that you actually want to lead more people into finding out how to use this energy, and you have a fabulous gift for us, a wonderful master class. Please let us know a little bit about what people will learn with you.
So in this master class, we're going to learn the whys of how crystals work. So really it'll be like a breakdown of how it is crystals work, what to do if you're a skeptic. So for people that have more logical sensibilities, I go through how to speak to your subconscious mind when using symbols like crystals and working with that. And then we're going to go into how to care for your crystals, how to charge them and cleanse them, which I spoke a little bit more on that. And then how to actually involve crystals into your sensual practice to either, like we said, release that which no longer serves us any longer, manifest anything from love to money or new job, and then different practices that you could do that expand outside of the sexual aspect. So how to put crystals around your home to get the most out of them in your space, doing things like crystal grids and crystal elixirs and other methods of self-love using crystals.
I love that, because self-love is the orgasmic prescription of everything.
Yes, definitely is. Yep.
I love that. And I will definitely be on that master class. And I'm sure everyone here wants to listen to that as well. Put your name and email address under the link below. I want to thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming and sharing this with us. I love my chakra and the, you know, going for the forest and so many other things. And just before we wrap up, a question: if there was one sacred secret you had to pick just one to really igniting, as I say, the magic, money, sex, and business, your life, what would it be?
Think about what it means to, if you think about what it is to have a thought that arouses you in a sexual way, that same process can be used to ignite whatever energy that you want to call in. So if you can think about something that turns you on, it physically turns you on, you could think about something like love and meditate on that and actually bring that forward in your being. So that lesson is that you have it all within you already. You just have to learn to call it forth.
I love that. Because we're not actually going for the thing, we're going for the feeling or emotion.
Yes. Yes.
Something. So by creating that, you're actually projecting it outwards.
Exactly.
I love that. Again, if you would like to sign up for this amazing masterclass, put your name and email below. If you'd like to find out more about Vanessa and Chakrubs, please go to chakrubs.com. And please join us tomorrow for another fabulous adventure in Pleasure Principles, Sacred G-Spot Secrets to Igniting Your Magic, Money, Sex, and Business. Ciao for now.
Bye.